The Mennonites do not sing the national anthem at their institutions, whether it's sporting or the college they have in Ohio. And what I learned is that they are descendants of the Anabaptists, and they were persecuted by both Protestants and Catholics. And they go back to the Middle Ages and to the Reformation and so on. They thought that some of the key reformers hadn't gone far enough. And I think that this group is very peculiar because um, it's not to say that perhaps Martin Luther had knew of other things that he didn't really work on. I mean, you got to remember that religion had come to almost a dead end, and they were trying to bring it back to the past and to take it forward with the new vigor of the Reformation. But it's not to say that he had extraordinary knowledge. I mean, the things that they talked about were groundbreaking and earth-shattering. So it's not that they other things were available. That's all they knew, and those were things that were dear to the heart, and they worked in it. Now, I can understand coming out to the Middle Ages, you'll have that trepidation with church and state working together. And this is what American Constitution seemed to have suggested, separation of church and state. But in reality, can you separate them? No, I'm not going to get into the depth or the details of this discourse because I'm still working on it. But it seems to me that you can't separate them. All right. Um, when you look at the Baptists, however, they said they want to follow Jesus and all this stuff like that. But Jesus, if he were here today, he would have been singing the national anthem and flying the flag. Because you remember when his disciples came to him and said, should we consider Caesar or consider the Roman government since we're in your kingdom and the whole 9 yards, we're planning to go to heaven? And Jesus said, bring a coin. And he says, whose inscription is this? And they said, Caesar. And he rightly said, give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's and give to God the things that are God. So what I think that the Mennonites could gather from this is that things that the state purport that are neutral and that are okay, you could go with it. But if the state were to come to the place where they say, you know what, I want you to go and kill your neighbors, I mean, that's something that, of course, you shouldn't get involved with because Christ would never recommend his disciples that they should follow arbitrary and funny rules of Rome. So I think the Mennonites need to really, really reconsider their position and look at what Jesus would have done. I mean, I know there's a talk about what would Jesus do, and that's about the works, because times change, and what Jesus might have done when he was on earth is not things that you can do today. They're different. And so I think they're wrong, and I think they need to, change their minds on that, because it's religion has not left the state. Church and state still operate, but it's just that they don't understand that concept. And it seems to me that even they, talking about Martin Luther, hadn't gone far enough. I think that religion and everything sort of changes with the times. Not necessarily that the principles remain the same, but you just can't stay. Well, we're gonna stay with horse and buggy way back then, you know what I mean, or walk like Jesus did. There's car and there's aircraft and all that stuff. So I think they're wrong, and I think they need to start using the national anthem.